here we are, middle of November, or approaching the middle of November, and weather's getting colder, drier air, whatever. At least that's, I'm in New York, and we have that typical Northeast USA weather going on. Anyway, so basically, just want to throw a quick video together, and yeah, I'm chuckling because they're never really quick. I try, I really do. Um, I have this lovely angstrom. A lot of people fawn over Swedish blades and Helgi strands in particular. I'm a big fan of angstroms, the framebacks. The steel is retardedly hard. They are very difficult to hone to a place that I'm happy with. Once they get sharp, they keep an edge for a really long time. This one has some wear on it. I put some on because the previous owner did a really bad job. On the bevel, it was rounded. I don't know what he did, how he did it, whatever. So I had to put a little extra wear on this blade to get everything straightened out. And yeah, it could be prettier, and there could be a little more dimension on the blade. But she's old. It's an old blade, 1870s, something like that, and still a good shaver. Framebacks are light. They have an interesting profile in that the back is actually legitimately it's a frame, and you have this piece of steel shoved up in there. Now, what you have here now is a very stiff blade that acts a little bit like a wedge, but it's very thin, so it has sorta, not exactly, but it goes in that vein of something that's more hollow. Anyway, all of that is arguable. It's all subjective. That's just my take on it. The blade in general, it was fairly cheap. I got it in a flea market out in the Midwest on a trip a couple of years ago, and I forgot about it, and then I sort of honed it, and then sort of didn't. And scales of plastic is nothing special, but it's small and it's light. I guess originally like a 5/8, and it's an understated blade, and I like that. And it's Swedish, and I'm Swedish, so I like that. And well, Swedish and Italian. You couldn't tell about the Italian part, right? And anyway, yeah. So it's interesting. I would like to get one of these that was like an 8/8. An 8/8 frame back would make me extremely happy. I've never seen one. I'm sure it exists. I've just never seen it, and it would probably cost too much money. But I think that would be pretty dope. Anyway, these are nice blades. So want to get it tuned up, and I did, and I'm having a difficult week, and I cut myself like I cut myself here, right? I don't know if you can see it, right? That was with my tape gun, okay, of all things. And then on my thumb, I whacked myself with my Skyver knife because I've been making strops like a madman. And on this puppy, actually, I nicked myself. I don't know, it's somewhere over here, um, right on the heel of the blade because I wasn't paying attention when I was cleaning up. So at one hand, I got 3 cuts, and then I shaved, and it's that time of year, it's like weather's dry, it's bone dry, and my skin is terrible. I don't hydrate, I don't lotion, I don't do any of that shit. I don't prep, I don't hot towel. So, I suffered through the weather thing a little bit, and so I got this screaming edge, using some J-Nats, and I started off with some scents. I mean, it's like crazy keen. That's these Swedish blades will take that edge, man. If you want to experiment with insanity, get yourself some diamond pastes and a Swedish frame back, and like go to town. I trust me, you're gonna bleed, but the experience of having completely removed the top layer of skin on your face is pretty entertaining. Don't try using alum after that shave. I can tell you from experience that's like jump up and down and scream time. But anyway, when I talk about diamond paste, I'm talking about the really really fine stuff. Not just 0.25. Although that's pretty intense. Go down to like 0.1 if you want to like really trip the light. Fantastic. Anyway, back to here and now. When I use a really super keen edge, my skin doesn't really like jive. Plus, I'm getting off of soda, so I'm like purging toxins. The topography on my skin is like nuts, It's not very smooth, is what I'm trying to say. With the dryness and getting rid of the caffeine and caramel and fake shit. Um, yeah, so I wound up with a little bit of irritation. It was hours ago, and I can't feel anything as I push up into my jowl, which is like an indicator for me. It's like, it's just one test I use to see how close I got. Anyway, so what I wanted to do was keep the keen, and chill the edge, you know. So I got my arc out, and when I hone on arcs, yes, it's true. This is the surgical black arc. I love calling this the surgical black arc because it really pisses off this one troll that he's on YouTube. This is a piece of a Williams shaving stick. All right, so I just wanted to put like a little tiny bit of soap in there. What that does is it helps break some of the surface tension. One thing that I don't talk enough about is honing on the arcs, and you know, these are really special stones. Now, I don't enjoy the softer ones because you really do have to use them with oil. The way the stone is like made up, the crystalline structure, I can wax poetic. I can tell you all about the geology. I can tell you particle size. I can tell you particle distribution. I can da 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 da. It doesn't matter. Okay. Um, that's for another type of conversation. All right, I've had arcs. Arcs were my first stones, so long before razors came into my life. I was buying Arkansas stones on eBay. I hooked up with a guy who sharpens in the city. He told me why the stones I bought were complete crap. I got rid of them. I found a guy who ran a quarry. He had a little website back in the early days of the web. I hooked up with him on the phone. He cut me two stones. This is one of them. That was a long time ago. Um, You'll notice me going, fairly methodically here. It's because of two things. One, I don't want to make a mistake on this stone. People say that, like, well, I have said, and I mean it, that these stones are unforgiving. What I know is that if I lift the spine on this blade, I'm going to crash my edge and I'm going to have to start all over. That's what I know. What somebody else does with his blades, I don't know. So I don't want to like goof. There's no wiggle room. There's no softness. There's no give. This doesn't absorb. This isn't a synthetic stone that develops a top layer that's, soft and inviting. It's not like that. If you have like a Norton 8K and your spine comes up, chances are you're going to survive that mistake pretty easily. I don't find that to be true on these arcs, but that's just me. Maybe I'm nuts, right? So, anyway, I really enjoy honing on Arkansas stones, but I only finish on them. These are the ones that I use are the translucents. I just sold one. I had a beautiful old pike. Someone got really lucky. I put that up on my Etsy shop, and it was pike is from like late 1800s, early 1900s, and it was a translucent, and it was like brilliant. Um, you just can't get stone like that quality anymore. This is old stone here, super old. The guy told me like this is from like a mother block that was with his company for like forever and a day. He didn't cut stones this size. It wasn't something he did. I convinced him to do it for me. He cut me this, and he cut me a white one. I foolishly sold the white one to some guy on Badger and Blade because I decided that I just didn't need it. And to be honest, I really don't and didn't need it, but it's like the longer I use this stone and the longer I'm in this game, I realize just how special high quality stones like that are. But anyway, yeah, surgical black is a marketing term, as that troll pointed out, but you have to also understand so is the term Escher. Escher isn't a type of stone. Escher is a slate that came out of Germany. This is a surgical black. It's novaculite. Came out of Arkansas. It's an Arkansas stone. Yes, that's a marketing term, but I mean, come on, give me a break, man. It's a certain type of Arkansas stone. Not every Arkansas stone is able to be a surgical black or translucent. And the same thing with Eschers. Not every slate that came out of that hole in the ground became an Escher razor hone. The arc, yeah, I'm honing on this arc, and I'm finishing. I'm top finishing. I'm like super finishing. I'm like, what am I doing? I'm just like doing like a second polish on top of it. And so what I'm doing here is I'm giving this what I call a smart edge. And yeah, people aren't gonna be digging this one. Hold on, because it's just like a subjective thing that I can't qualify like with a spreadsheet. But what I have found is that Arkansas stones tend to leave an edge that I call smart. Other people have called it that too. Most notably, Jared at the Superior Shave mentioned it on his website back when he was selling Arkansas and none he was. Anyway, I'm not done. Just wanted to wipe the blade off, take a look at the polish and the light, catching it in the glint, and I can tell you that it is mirror. I can see the reflection of the bulb, and I can see the twists in the bulb, and I can even see the mounting screw holding the fixture into the wood that my lamp is made out of. It's a homemade thing. Anyway, I find that these edges, I call them smart. I call them smart because they seem to want to cut hair and not face. Now, someone's going to say, well, that's because of a lack of. I don't care. You know, I don't. I just call it that. Why don't I hone on this all the time? I love this stone to death. It's been with me since like the 80s. It's very slow. It's not, and feedback wise, it's not engaging. This is literally like honing on polished granite or polished glass. Makes a very good edge. I should probably use it more often. I do actually prefer straight off the JNAT edges most of the time. You see the undercut on this is sick, right? I have to do a bit of a roll because unlike most angstroms, this one has a little bit of weirdness in the grind, which is like an anomaly. You're usually dead flat. I don't know what happened to this one. Red-headed stepchild. Anyway, feedback here is so minimal. The only way, like if you're new, the only way you can successfully hone on one of these, I think, is to just do like 1,000 laps because, well, you'll never over hone on it. Not when it's in this condition. Okay. But you'll definitely, under hone if you're not really paying attention. You'll think like, oh, well, it must be done. Well, they're slow. This is slow. This is not a fast stone, when I surface a stone like this, I use a series of silicon carbide grits on a flat plate. I get it to about 600 that I work, so the 600 breaks down. It's friable, but it dresses the stone pretty flat, and then I move to wet dry paper, and I'm inclined to start at about 220 and then work to 600. The work there is minimal. Silicon carbide will leave a stone like this fairly flat, but not dead flat. The wet dry paper will do it, and I need a bunch of it. I want stones dead flat. I know that there's a group of people or whatever contrarians that feel that bellied stones the way to go, and yeah, I don't know how that works. Right? For me, flat is the way to go. I don't check this one for flatness because I really don't ever want to have to lap it again. It's 10 inches long, it's 3 inches wide. I'm actually tempted to get like a 6x2 and just have that as a go-to. All right. People spend a lot of time burnishing them down. They call it, it's not really burnishing, but it's a term we use that sort of breaks the surface in, and I mitigate that. I work with a matte surface, not a polished surface. I don't want to work this down with steel like that. If I ever see any polished parts, I mat it down with paper. That's what works for me. All right. I have found that Those highly polished arcs have a tendency to overburnish the steel, and the edge does not wind up being as perfect a line as I want it to be. I get a better edge when I work on a matte surface. Somebody just asked me how that can be if a matte surface is technically more coarse. How come that doesn't leave a less fine edge? And I don't know that the matte surface is actually more coarse. If it is more coarse, let's say it is. I mean, what are we talking about here? A dimension measured in angstroms, is that going to be felt on the edge? I don't know. I've done a lot of honing on them and a lot of looking at them under magnification, and I know that I find working with the matte surface and keeping it continuous and matte and not having any shiny patches pop up here and there, that works best for me. It's not from a lack of trying a full polished stone. I did that initially and I worked with it, and there was just something there that bugged me. And I talked to an old timer, and he was a woodworking guy, but he had a real nice set of Japanese chisels that he really worked up incredible edges on because he did fine detailed work. And that was his thing. He told me about that. And so I tried it, and I thanked him. He was right. It worked for me. And so I've been doing it since. Some people just want to argue. You got to have the polish on the stone, and I don't believe that that's true. Anyway, okay, this is really, really, really slow, but I think this edge did not need a ton of work, and my hand is telling me that I'm done. Yeah, I'm using both. I'm sensing with my index finger. I'm trying to see if I can read any additional feedback. I still have something on this blade up near the toe. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's an anomaly in the grind that I'm feeling, but up in this top 20% up by the toe, there's something off on this blade. It's not enough for me to like go back to 1K and try and correct it, but it's there. Your fingers learn to pick up feedback. That's the kind of thing you learn to read. Anyway, we're done here. Anyway, I just wanted to like hold a little bit, get this out, talk a little bit about the art because I don't do that often enough. I use a little bit of soap and some water. You can use Dawn is another way to go. And I do that when I'm at the sink. This just happens to be out of my bench right now. Or sometimes I use glycerin. Some people use oil. I don't. I don't like oil on these. I don't like honing with any type of oil. Anything that's like a lubricant, it's not my thing. And like I made my own. I don't know where it is right now. Here it is. This is my own blend of honing oil, and this is as close as I can get to like wanting to use an oil. And it's all natural and it's water soluble and blah blah blah. I just don't like the feeling on my hand, right? And it's just one of those things. And that's, you know, I'm not saying right, wrong, otherwise. That's just me. Anyway, so that's it about this. Let's see what else is going on. Oh, I got this new Greaves, right? And this might make it into a video. I don't know actually, because here it's looking pretty dope, right? It's pretty nice. Yeah, the scales were cracked down here, so I did one of my repairs. The epoxy with horn dust in it, horn oxy. And I sanded this down. I'm going to drop in right now. I'm going to drop in a series of photos. You can see what it looked like when I got it. Got it. It's in kind of nice shape. What I really like was this thumb cut. And then it had the fencing foils on the logo here, the tank stamp, which is incredible. And another super thing is that the profile on this is like a full hollow, which is odd for me. I usually don't go for them, and I think this might be a regrind. Um, if you look at how the stabilizer is cut into the shoulder here, kind of says to me this was done after the fact because it rides up over that line. I don't know if you can see. You can see how it like kind of isn't like a perfect thing. Doesn't meet right. But anyway, whatever it is, it's a razor, and I'm not, entering it into a museum or anything like that. And yeah, I did my typical like refinish on the scales. I didn't, you know, go nuts with clamping and heating in a toaster oven. I used a blow dryer and some chopsticks, and they're not perfectly unwarped, but they're unwarped enough to work for me. It's a razor, and put these big fat collars on it to give me some bearing area to stomp down on to keep things in place. And yeah, it works really nice so far. I have to hone it, so I may do a video on that. Yeah, the progression on this, in case you're interested, it was 1.5K, 5K Shapton, and 8K Shapton, actually. But then I went back to the 5K because I wasn't really happy with the way the blade came out at 8K. It wasn't feeling right. So I went back to 5K, and then I didn't return to the 8K. I jumped right from the 5K to a typical Nagura progression. And when it came off my Nakayama, like I said, the edge was screaming. But my face is just not happy with a screaming edge. So theoretically, this will keep my keenness and boost the smoothness through the ceiling, and should be able to just keep on keeping on with that. So anyway, that's enough for now. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.